Welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's the founder and CEO of Avad3, a national production company known for helping planners deliver flawless, high-stakes events and conferences. None other than Mr. Cameron Magee. Welcome, Mr. Cameron on Abstract Essay. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Hey, good afternoon, Daniel. Yeah, thanks for having me. Great to be on your show. You've been everywhere. I started Avad3 in my dorm room when I was in college. I've been doing AV type things my whole life and decided to start a business here in Arkansas. And we're 14 now and growing and becoming more of a national company. And it's on an honor to get to talk to you, sir.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Cameron. Thank you. So let's talk about from dorm room to national stage, building a business that lasts. Oh, just like what? Apple? Oh my goodness. So tell us, Mr. Cameron, let's go back where very beginning. What was the dorm room moment, the specific problem or insight that ignited the idea, and what gave you a conviction that it was more than just a college project?
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for asking, Daniel. Yeah, I had been doing AV at my church when I was growing up. And so that was kind of my skill set. My hobby at the time was running sound, helping with video, slides at church, running cameras, running lights. But when I was in college, I was majoring and planning to be a history teacher. I was just going to have a kind of a normal job. No one in my family had been entrepreneurial and was planning to just graduate and maybe do this as kind of a side hustle. But I attended a conference for college students called Passion. And when I was at that conference, I really felt convicted to actually start a proper business and grow that business into what we see as Avad3 today.
Many students have a business ideas, but few take the first step. What is the single most important action you took in those first 30 days to move from the idea to something real?
Well, it's a little bit of a silly story. I was trying to do it without an LLC or anything. I was just trying to get going because I had the skills. I had a little bit of equipment and started and quickly learned you're supposed to be set up that way for a reason. I learned the hard way through accounting and taxes and things that were really set up to be set up the proper way. And so I went and formed the LLC and was immediately faced with this reality of we have to have a brand, we have to have a company, we have to have a presence. And I wasn't prepared for that. And the brand that we have today, Avad3, Avad is Hebrew for serve, and it's really connected to my heart. But at the time, kind of overnight, being thrust from just calling it Cameron Magee, Cameron will come help you, to calling it Avad3, I wasn't ready for that type of responsibility. But I would encourage anyone, whether they're in a dorm room or later in life or younger in life, if you're passionate about something, I love being a small business owner. And I'm glad I took the leap in college with a roof over my head and food and board taken care of. It was a good time to jump.
Indeed. All my podcasts, all the first season I did with my iPhone 10 with a $10 microphone. So, people, if you have the passion, please go and share to the world, just like Mr. Cameron and I. Building a business with friends or classmates is a classic start. How did you navigate the transition from casual friendships to a formalized business and partnerships and roles?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, at first it was my friends, and she's now my wife. She was just a dear friend of mine at the time, and then we started dating and got engaged and got married around that time. But it was just friends at first. And I agree, Daniel. I think it's good to start and to start somewhere. And so that's how we started and started serving clients and people that had events and had needs and wanted quality AV and audiovisual services at their events. As I got a little bit older, I realized I wanted a team. I didn't want to just hire hired hands kind of for the day or people to come and go. I wanted to actually have a team around me and have a team that could serve more consistently for those clients. That felt like a win-win for the client and for us to have that consistency with who we're working with day to day. And so we started hiring and taking ourselves a little more seriously as a business to do real job postings and look for those people. And I'm glad we did, because today the team is really what makes us unique compared to some event companies who are almost purely freelancers. We're proud to have a team in house.
And truly you did. And because of that, we're going to give you an applause, Mr. Cameron. Hoping for more business like this to come. What did success look like in the first year? Was it a revenue number, a number of users, or simply not failing before finals?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that first year, my goal was I was still in college, as you said, failing before finals. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this a full-time job or not. I had started to get some job offers and had pursued some full-time jobs around that time. But my goal the first year was just to compete with a teacher's salary, which a starting teacher's salary when I was in college in the state of Arkansas was around $29,000. And so my goal was, can I try to figure out how to make $29,000 with this small business my senior year of college? And was successful in doing that. I think I was about $1,000 short. But I'm super thankful for the clients that trusted me early on and trusted my reputation of doing what I said I would do and delivering on their biggest day of the year. And that made it possible when we graduated to not go out and get a full-time job, which made it possible for me to have a lot of free time on my hands to then start taking very seriously things like a sales plan, a marketing plan, and the core principles that make up the foundation of a business. So first year, just teacher salary, but that landed a horizon of firm footing. The second year was much harder than that. I actually made less money the second year. But that first year, that was the goal. Good question.
Thank you, Mr. Cameron. Let's talk about the leap and the grind. What was the catalyst for the leap? The moment you decided to go all in after graduations instead of taking the traditional job, was there a specific milestone or a moment of truth?
Yeah, it's a good question, Daniel. There's been a lot of moments. We're 14 years old now. I'm 35 today. And the leap wasn't a big leap for me. I feel like I was super blessed that it happened while I was in college. And so, as I said, I had a roof over my head and food in the cafeteria. I think a lot of people that I talk to that are more my age now that are thinking about taking the leap, I respect that takes a lot more courage. At 35, if you're married, if you have children, that leap is a lot scarier. How I would answer that is, for me, there's been so many hurdles along the way. Um, People love to talk about the successful entrepreneurs. A lot of people think entrepreneurship is all about getting acquired someday or being a tech startup or some of these Google and Facebook success stories that we see from the West Coast. But to me, being an entrepreneur is someone who's willing to get punched in the mouth every day and still get up and say, let's do it again tomorrow. It's someone who's so passionate about their mission that they've set their business on and the vision that they want to see in the world, that they're willing to stay committed to that through the ups and downs. And so to me, it hasn't been one big leap. I think it's been a daily baby step forward to say, okay, we had a setback yesterday. We went for this big project and we didn't get chosen for it, or we were going to make this big hire and now we're not going to make this hire, or whatever those setbacks are over the 14 years, there's been plenty. And I think for me, it's more of a daily walk to still stay committed and say yes in the face of constant setbacks. That perseverance is what I want to be known for, like my grandfather was and what I knew my grandfather for. I want my boys to see that in me.
Baby steps, for sure, a baby step. Tell us about a major fork in the road decision you face early on where you had to choose between two paths for the company. How did make it that call?
Yeah, it's a great question, Daniel. Thanks. We, when we started, and when I say we, I guess it's I, but I always use the pronoun we, even when there's just a few of us, the early days, we did two things. We did a lot of event production, which is what Avad 3 is known for today. We also did a lot of video production. And that fork in the road question reminds me of, it was around year 5 where we decided to actually split the company into two companies, one that just did video production and one that just did event production. And I ran both companies for almost 5 years. And then in 2020, March of 2020, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we had to make some choices and some consolidation, some difficult choices, some of the hardest decisions I've made in my lifetime, let alone career. And one of those was to fold the video production back up under the event production. And really today we're most known for event production. We still do just a little bit of video production if the event needs video production associated with it. But for the most part, Avad 3 is known as an event production company. But that was a difficult decision because I'm still passionate about all kinds of production, whether it's event production or video production. And it was difficult, but I'm glad that we split, and then I'm glad that we had that clarity in how to make that decision during the pandemic to where we are today.
What was your ramen noodle profitability moment, and how did achieving the final financial milestone change your mindset and strategy?
Yeah, finances are tough. It's been one of the hardest things. Our profitability is something that it's not really optional. You know, we as a small business owner, it's almost like eating your vegetables or getting a good sleep at night. You know, you have to maintain a profitable business. And I think profitability in the events industry is particularly difficult because it's quite the roller coaster. There are peak months, October, what we're in right now. Today's Halloween. We're recording this on, or streaming this on Halloween. It's a busy month.
Yes.
But there's also slower months for us. And I have other friends that run event production companies all over the country. And they have opposite months where maybe if they're in Florida, they have a different peak month than someone who's in Michigan. And so that profitability is difficult, but mandatory. And so month by month, quarter by quarter, and year by year, we always have to make difficult decisions, smart decisions, so that we can be running a healthy P&L so that we can still be here. I think a lot of people look at profit in small business and think it's the business owner maybe taking a vacation or something like that. It's about them getting a new boat or some toy or something like that. But profit to me is not about kind of whipped cream on top or some sort of a reward at the finish line. Profit for me is our savings account that allows us to weather the storm of the other lower months. And so it's an important part of business.
Scaling from a small, scrappy team to a structured organization is notoriously difficult. What was the most challenging aspect of that transition, and how did you manage it?
Yeah, I think number one, in the early days, even if you have a brand, even if you have a logo and a name, we were Avad 3, we weren't Cameron, we were Avad 3. But in the early days, you're really getting clients off your own personal reputation. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I had a good reputation as an individual and that people would kind of go out on a limb and try. But after about 5 years, it is important to, what we say at Avad 3 is, make the brand bigger than any one person. And that's a real challenge because they still want to call the owner, they still want to see the owner. Today, we're a ways away from that, so people don't necessarily care about seeing me anymore. But we've got great teammates, and so we remind those teammates that even if you do a great job on the event this year, we need to be setting the client up where they're ready. If we need to have you on a different event because the calendar and dates and things happen where people get shifted around. And so we want to have clients have a great experience with our brand, with our Avad 3 team. And clients have told us that if they move their event dates or switch a month and we have to give them a different production manager, we have 5 production managers now. They've said, no matter who you give us, we've had great experience with everyone consistently on your team. But I think that is a challenge in the early days. It's a challenge to go from just essentially me being the production manager and having, 3 to 4 people with me on a crew to pulling myself out of the front lines to say, hey, we're going to have multiple crews out right now. So I can't lead any of those crews. I'm going to stay back and help serve those crews from behind the scenes so they can serve. But that's difficult and challenging in business, I think, for sure.
Early on, you have to do things that don't scale. What's the best example of a scrappy tactic that you use that later become a scalable part of your business model?
Yeah, I love to teach, and I'm passionate about teaching. If a teammate has a question, I think I've got a good reputation on the staff of they can come to me and ask me, and I'll teach them. I think that's been a challenging thing to scale. I need to do a better job of recording videos or writing things that where I'm not the bottleneck to people overcoming a challenge. Even today, we were trying to get out of the office this morning to just have a quick team lunch and get everybody together. And just trying to get out of the office, I had 4 people just ask me, hey, quick question before we leave, and ask you a quick question. And I'm feeling more and more every day. I've put them on the front lines. They're doing a great job serving, but I still am. And it's good. It's a good thing to be reliable and be able to help them. But a lot of their questions, I'm noticing patterns, and I need to do a better job of writing and recording those things and helping them almost have an FAQ, like a playbook for frequently asked questions so that they can scale really well. I don't imagine the founder of Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or these huge companies, don't imagine that their people can still get to them to answer those questions, and yet they get their questions answered with consistent excellence. So I think that's an important part of our scalability, is getting those things documented.
Many startups have a great product but fail at building a lasting culture. How do you intentionally build your company's culture, and what is the one core value that has been non-negotiable from the start?
Yeah, it's a good question. Culture is super important. And in the event world, people get burned out really easily. Events are very hard work. They are very long days. Just yesterday, we had a crew in Portland and New Orleans, and then we had 2 crews on different parts of the state here in Arkansas, where we're from. And a lot of those people are home today, they're back, but it's really easy to get burned out in this industry. It's really easy to burn the candle at both ends, so to speak. And so one of our core values that will always be super important is we like to say, one team, one dream. And we like to talk about that no one person can put something on their shoulders and put it on their back and carry it themselves. It takes real teamwork. That the person who's leading the crew can't also drive the truck. The person who's running the sound can't also be the stage manager. And so we're really big on teamwork. And I think that teamwork shows up. Again, we just had a brief team lunch right before we were recording this podcast. And it shows up in camaraderie of those people saying, hey, thank you for yesterday. Thank you for yesterday morning early when you were there. Thank you for last night when you were there. We say, I've got your back and you've got mine. And I think that trust building across the team is what makes our culture different than the events industry. That's very siloed sometimes. And I'm really proud of that here at Avard3.
Mr. Cameron, as a founder and CEO of Avard3, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Yeah, short term. Right now, we're doing a lot of hard work and catching up from COVID in a crazy way to still be 5 years later and still thinking about COVID. COVID made us shrink really small, and then we scaled back up really big, relatively quickly. We were fairly agile and able to kind of adapt, and we scaled up quickly. But what we've learned is we're still running on some systems that we used before COVID. And we're still running on some systems we were using during COVID that really have aged out. And so I think as a short-term goal over the next 1 to 3 years, it's not super fun work. It's not super exciting work, but it's a lot of documentation and process cleanup, a lot of things that we need to repair and tidy up that have broken gaps in our system. We have different team today than we did 5 years ago. And a lot of those systems are written with key people. And so there's gaps in those workflows. So it's a very, kind of hard work, almost diligent, quote unquote, boring 1 to 3 years ahead of work that I'll be doing to help get those things more structured. Longer goal than that, there was a season before the pandemic where we had an apprenticeship program. And I would love to bring that apprenticeship program back. I love helping young people get plugged into the industry. Not saying they have to go to college, not saying they have to have found a magic mentor that taught them one-on-one like mine did at an early age, but building a place where we can have almost an internship, apprenticeship type format like we once did. I'm looking forward to that. And then once we bring it back, doing what we need to do to keep it. COVID is what shut that down. And I'd like to bring that back and have that be a legacy for my lifetime for the next 25 years of Laura and I running the business, that it's a place where young people can come, get plugged in, and then be launched into the industry to have a successful career.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Cameron, and looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Well, I think when people ask questions like that, they kind of look at maybe where we are today. And I would equate it back to something I said earlier about taking baby steps, and something that you said, Daniel, about taking the leap. I think a lot of people look at that as a huge moment. When will I take the leap? When will I quit my full-time job and go all in on a small business? I would give people advice to start today, to start tomorrow, to not ask yourself, when am I going to quit my full-time job, start an LLC, and suddenly just be out on my own? I wouldn't recommend that at all. I'd recommend a baby step. For me, that baby step was while I was still in college, getting started on small projects. For others, it may be becoming more of a weekend warrior and doing your hobby and doing your passion or small business outside of business hours, starting to walk that full-time job back to maybe 32 hours a week or 24 hours a week as you expand it. But I always encourage people to take the first step, take a baby step, and keep going as you get the setbacks. If this is truly what your passion is, to pursue it, no matter what life stage you're at. It's not too late and you're not too old.
Thank you for that advice, Mr. Cameron. And if you could go back in time and give your dorm room self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Yeah, one of the most painful things in my 14 years is I hate saying goodbye. I hate whenever we have to have team changes of any kind. It's just really hard on me because my heart and soul is with the team. And during COVID and a couple of times in our 14 years as a business, we've had to do layoffs, which is super sad. It's a normal part of some businesses' lives, but I think I underestimated what that would mean to my heart and soul. And so I think if I could go back to the dorm room, I would say to keep our head count as small as possible, keep our expenses as low as possible, where we're really prepared for a tough month or a tough quarter. No one can survive. An event company cannot survive COVID, a whole year, essentially, 6 months of zero revenue. You can't put that much pressure on yourself. But I do wish I could have given advice to stay smaller, longer, so that we didn't have to have different setbacks as we've had over the years. Those have been sad moments for me. Happy to talk about that more on another episode or something sometime, because I want other people to learn from my lessons that I've learned over the years. But I would give my dorm room self advice to keep it small and lean for a long time. My heart gets so excited when we have the ability to hire someone that I'm quick to hire. But we've got to learn our lesson over the next 25 years of making sure that every headcount we add, that we can sustain that through low months, low quarters for profitability, so that we can endure the way that companies do that have been around for 100 years. They've endured. And so I want to endure the way that they have.
Well, Mr. Cameron, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and mental health 101. Love Letters in the fourth season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 is fourth season as well, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its second season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. For the student in their dorm room right now, dreaming of their own national stage, Mr. Cameron, what is the one thing they should focus above all else?
The client that you have tomorrow, the project you're given tomorrow to do, give it 110%. A lot of our big national stages that we get to do today, the presidents that we've gotten to serve, President Biden, President Trump in the last two, last two administrations. The corporations that we get to serve today, Fortune 1, Fortune 500, every one of those quote unquote big stages started as a really small stage. And it started with a small project of having a great attitude about it, not having well, this project's super small and this kind of stinks, but maybe one day we'll have a big project. But saying, hey, this is the project we have today, and let's give it 110%. Because you never know when you serve someone on a really small event, when they get promoted or they switch jobs or get a new career and they call you back for something much bigger. So always give 110% and be faithful with 2 pennies so that you can be trusted with millions. That's what I would say.
Interesting and inspiring, Mr. Cameron. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, where do people can reach you, Mr. Cameron?
They can find me on LinkedIn, avad3.com. Those are probably the 2 best places I recommend. Especially like this on LinkedIn.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Cameron Magee because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering business like this to come. So, Mr. Cameron, thank you so much for your time. More to come, people. See you soon.